got pretty lonely on the road.
I miss my family. I miss being away from them because I was always either in an airplane or in a car. 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. And it was tough, it really was, you know. The whole thing was about money. And then it got to the point to where there ain't nothing like your family. Money don't mean nothing without your family.
Maybe it's a sickness, I don't know, but it's it's a good sickness because I was successful at it. The road part, riding in the cars and stuff, I mean, that was torture.
A lot of physical pain, a lot of loneliness. I think that the good and the bad almost balance out. Like it can be really great being a wrestler, and it can really suck at the same time.
350 days as a professional wrestler, to me, reminds me of having to get up at 5:30 and 6 every morning to catch a flight and to go to some town and rent a car and then go to the hotel and then go to the gym, have something to eat, and then go to the matches. That was my life. It was a lonely life.
You know what I think about the fans knowing what happened on the road and their insight and it makes it exciting for them and what was going on? I have nothing to say to them because they would like be telling a little kid that there's no Santa Claus. Let them dream. They don't want to know. Let them think about the highlights and the great stuff. They don't want to know what a drag it is on you. So it was great. Try it sometime, sucker.
The guys today that I walk up to, go to these wrestling matches, they say, well, I'm a wrestler, I've wrestled. I said, well, have you been on the road? How many times you wrestle? They say we wrestle about once or twice a month. I said, well, you're not a wrestler until you wrestle 7 days a week and every day of the year on the road constantly and living a hard life, living in motels and being away from your family and having hard times, then you can call yourself a wrestler.
That means you're being abused by a promoter. That means you're being taken advantage of. That means your lifestyle is totally changed between being a normal human being and being a robot for the wrestling company that you're performing for. That means you're disrespected and you have no home life whatsoever. That's the most important thing that you must consider when you talk about 350 days on the road.
You know, whatever number it takes, 500 or whatever days, you know, I look forward to it, bro. You know why? Because I love it so much. It's in my heart. And it's a great feeling.
When I hear that term 350 days, it reminds me talking to Bret Hart in his home. And he was banged up from a lot of the wrestling. He says, the problem with our business is we're treated like farm animals. And farm animals work 365 days a year. We work 350.
I couldn't have children. I couldn't put them on a turnbuckle while mommy worked. I couldn't have any pets. And I really didn't even have a personal life. So my time in the ring was the highlight of my day. And I do miss that. I miss the thrill of wrestling. They say once it goes in your blood, it's hard to get out, and it's true.
People think, oh, you're having a blast, you're away from home, this and that, whatever. Yeah, but you're not with the people you love. I mean, really, if you think about it, I'm with a bunch of jerks that pass gas all the time, that want to eat cheap hamburgers, and I didn't do none of them. Oh, it's good with the bad.
Because you were a celebrity to a degree, the tempting things, and by tempting things, I'm talking about you go to a town, you go to a club after, and drugs would be available, and it's like somebody wants to be your friend, and so it's there. Some guys could deal with it, and some guys have destroyed their lives.
Well, I want to tell you, To make some big money in wrestling, you had to wrestle every night of the week, $30 every day. So you had to wrestle 6 and 7 times every week just to earn your money.
So if you get out once more, I didn't realize it was going to be that hot for him right now.
What the fuck did you do?
350 days on the road with wrestlers, a living hell.
I never liked wrestling. I didn't like traveling. I didn't like the disruption of a normal program. Like the years I spent training with Arnold and bodybuilding, you're on a program. Every day you wake up at the same hour, you eat your meal at the same hour, you sleep in the same bed every night, you take the same steroids every day, you train at the same time every day. Everything is on a schedule. Pro wrestling, there is no this. The schedule is chaos and chaotic.
You know, I think a lot of the fans think that you live in the dressing room. And at 8 o'clock, the bell rings and the lights go on, music plays, and you come out. And you do your thing, and you go back in. And they all have their popcorn, and they drop all the stuff. They get in their car, and they go home. They're in bed at 10:30. All the guys are still on the road 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They're going to make the next town. So you're just traveling. But when you're young and ambitious and you got that drive like I was, it's part of the business. You know, you don't mind it. Now, I don't know if I could ever do that again.
You know, well, I've been traveling all over the place, bro. I mean, you name the name of the places, I've been there. Not once, but many times.
Houston, New Orleans, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Mississippi, back and forth. It was incredible. I wouldn't have survived it if I hadn't been in the car with Grizzly Smith. He drove all the way, and I used to swear he was falling asleep at the wheel, but we'd always get there.
I wrestled in Tokyo, I wrestled in Korea, I wrestled in Australia, New Zealand, Auckland, Perth. I wrestled in Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Barbados, St. Domingo, St. Thomas, St. Croix.
Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta and British Columbia, all the way to Calgary and Montana, and long trips. There was so much fun hanging around with all those wrestlers. When I think back on it now, I miss so many of those days. Guys drinking beer and the fun and hijinks in the hotel rooms. But I think Calgary really had the frontier, Wild West version of wrestling, of pro wrestling.
I think about driving to Greenwood and Greenville, Mississippi, and wrestling in front of 100 people, and then getting in a car and driving 300 miles, and it's some of those nights not having enough money to even eat at McDonald's. We would go and buy a loaf of bread and, you know, bologna. We call it bologna blowouts. We'd get some flea bag hotel and, you know, with 2 beds, and we'd take the mattresses off the bed and 4 guys and flip a coin to see who had to sleep on the hard box spring or who got the mattress.
You don't get to bed till 5, 6 because you've been partying. You wake up at 7. Your alarm clock might not work, so you might miss your flight. If your alarm clock does work, you get downstairs. You might be getting on a van to go to the airport, but the stewardesses and the pilots have got it all tied up, so you got to wait for the next one. The guys would check their baggage, which I thought was stupid, and they'd get to the other end, their baggage would be lost, and now they don't have their tights or snakes or whatever. It was always something.
They always did it to us. They always put us on the first thing flying out of there. And where did we go from Davenport, Iowa? We'd have to fly to Chicago and connect and go to someplace like Denver or LA or something. It was never close. Or Florida. It was just like...
I left Phoenix, Arizona, and drove up through the spine of the Rocky Mountains and entered Calgary. And I left Phoenix, it was 80 degrees. I arrived in Calgary, it's 50 below zero. It was the first time I'd ever been in this kind of frigid sub-zero weather. really seriously death killing weather if you were stuck out in it. And it was an absolute culture shock.
Calgary was famous for maybe having one of the hardest travel trip schedules of any territory. I think Amarillo was another one that was, maybe Louisiana. I think those are the three that stand out as, hellacious traveling. Usually packed in a van with 10 or 12 wrestlers. Sometimes we'd have the midgets that would be working. And I can remember the midgets, they'd stack them up like cordwood on top of the suitcases in the back, and they'd just lie out and sleep on the suitcases all the way to Regina. Some of them, I can remember, it still makes me laugh, because I can remember sitting in the van and looking down like this, and there'd be a midget under the seat with his face right by my feet. And I can remember looking down like, oops, sorry. And it's like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Just don't step on my head.
Take control of your family's health with Sambucol Immunity Gummies.